Hello,
Okay.
everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of our podcast where we talk about DFW area podcasts. If this is your first time listening to us, well, we are excited to have any new listeners join in. So, with that being said, let's talk about our topic, which Warfield actually chose for today. Um, so it's very nuanced, but go ahead and tell people what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, this is different. We talked about parks, the concept of parks department, city parks departments a few weeks ago. This is a whole different animal, and this is a lot of times they're privately run. They're sports complexes, and it's somewhat of a new industry. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't want to say brand new. It's been around for a while, but they're developing where they're a business, and people rent space, do things. They build them for people to come out and it becomes, and then they're supporting businesses around it or businesses that grow up around it. And all this was prompted by, and I don't know how, you have to kind of know the Dallas Fort Worth area. There's four main counties: Dallas, Tarrant, which is Fort Worth, Collin, and Denton. But just southeast of Dallas is a place called Kaufman County, and they are breaking ground on their largest mixed use development, and it features a sportsplex, which is a group or a large endeavor where you can do different types of sports and people can rent it out, lease it. You can have people use it for sporting events, tournaments, things of this nature. But along with this is going to be, and they're talking about, this is Common County. It's a smaller county. It's not very densely populated yet, but something like this is wanting to grow. But they're going to have a hotel attached to this, multifamily living, restaurants, and retail all around this. And it's, Kaufman County, the largest facility in their county. It's going to break ground. It's going to be called South Point. That's with an E, Pointe Park, and it just broke ground this past Thursday. And it's going to have 147,000 square foot sportsplex, and that's some of the other things I talked about, the apartments and stuff, which got me to thinking, what is a sportsplex? I mean, how do we view them, and how do they fit into communities nowadays? Because they are thriving. I pulled up in doing research, it said the 10 best sports complex near Dallas, Texas, not the 10 that are in this area, the 10 best. So there's quite a few of them running around. So I thought we just
What
kind
are a
of
few? Yeah, can you name a few of them?
Sure. There's something called, let me get past this, Texas Dance and Cheer Academy. That's an ad for one. There's the that's how big they are. They're in this. There's something called the Field House USA, which is in Grapevine. Basketball courts, boot camps, soccer. It's a field house basically, but allows, all sorts of, events that can happen, and you can sign up your children to do things. Another place is called Drive Nation. Doesn't give me a location.
Do you know about Drive Nation?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so actually Drive Nation it's a sports complex near DFW Airport. And
Oh, this is that one where they're suing, the owner's suing
the owner
DFW
is
Airport.
suing. Yeah, so I actually have
Yeah,
that article. Like, let me just go over the article really quick. So,
yeah, they do,
um,
because this is interesting how these things are developing. These kind of things are coming in play.
exactly. Yeah. So basically the he is an NBA player. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Former NBA star Jermaine O'Neal has filed a multi-million dollar lawsuit against Dallas Fort Worth International Airport over what he claims to be broken promises made by airport officials in regards to a forthcoming food and entertainment district near the travel hub. And so basically it's so not reporter, this sports star was created Drive Nation, a sports complex, spent about $14 million to create this complex. And DFW airport investors were the ones who approached him and said something along the lines of, hey, we believe that you would be a great person to invest in this area. We'll help you, and we can create this like booming sports complex, kind of like the Frisco Star. And now he's suing DFW Airport because he's like, this isn't, I was led astray, sold. What's that saying? We were like sold a
Bill of goods,
bill of goods.
sold a bill of goods. Yeah,
Yeah.
to that point, I remember reading this article. He's saying in the lawsuit that he said they would encourage other development, like I was talking about in that Kaufman County one. There's be hotel, restaurants, retail, apartments, multifamily living. He was saying that they made similar promises that they would help develop the area around it, because I guess the business models people need to be able to come to it and then have supporting. If you spend all day there, you're going to want to go to a restaurant afterwards if you're
Right.
a family or if you're a large group.
Or if you have
need
tournaments
hotels around it.
at these
Yeah,
places.
if you have tournaments, you need hotels to house all these people. And if there's nothing nearby, and from my understanding, this area where he built Drive Nation it's hard to say underdeveloped and anything around Dallas Fort Worth, but it was mostly, I don't want to say warehouses, but it wasn't a large area where you had retail and consumer orientated businesses to help support something like this. And he was relying on their promises because, to attract people, you need the support businesses and the retail and the restaurants and things of that nature. So people want to come instead of having to drive. You spend all day there, but you have to drive 5-10 miles to get out of this consumer area to get to consumer type businesses for these types of things to work. And so, yeah, that I'd read that a while back. I'm glad we're going down this path then, because that's kind of a big deal. And that lawsuit had made a few headlines here recently.
But the thing is, like, that's the whole point of these sports complexes is to like bring in, what's the word? Like some sort of economic growth
right.
into these areas. And I think it's interesting how we talk about like, we haven't talked about this, but like most of these sports complexes are like public-private partnerships, and it's a way to like, they'll see an area that needs some sort of economic growth. Investors will come in and say, hey, we want to build this huge complex. And then the city will be like, oh, great. Like, we'll help you, we'll make it easy on you, give you incentives or whatever, just so we can see, because we see the potential of this economic, what is it? Like a business model of a sportsplex in a place like DFW, where there's not, let's be honest, there's not much to do. We don't have many attractions. Sports is basically our number one thing to talk about, besides, I don't know how much people love Dallas, but yeah.
No, it's true. And so, a lot of these sportsplex, they're either, gyms where you can use, you have volleyball and basketball tournaments, or they're big soccer or baseball / softball complexes where, you do outdoor sports. So sometimes they're seasonal. And so they need the secondary businesses to help make their business profitable. Now, I looked up, how do these things work? I mean, what drives them? And of course, you can find all these wonderful people. Have you ever noticed that when you want to try to make business with a business, there's all these businesses that crop up telling you how you can make money from your business. And there are people that tell you how to have a sports complex business model. And they talk about leasing to groups, corporations, using the space for, non-sports events.
Yeah,
to help
that's true.
create business. So this is an interesting business that's developing, or a business model where you build one thing that basically supports a customer base of whether, soccer teams and soccer tournaments, but you also use the space for other events to keep it going when you don't have the large groups coming in. And again, that makes it very important, if you are going to hold a tournament, to have the secondary businesses there to help you do some, help to grow. And again, it goes back to the help the community grow. The whole point of this, and I'm sure especially the one in Kaufman, is to create some more development in Kaufman. Dallas is growing, the whole area is growing like crazy. They want to attract some of the money themselves. It helps their government grow, get their tax revenue and things like that. And so there are quite a few, like I said, the 10 best. What floored me the most, you mentioned this earlier, the Ford Center at the Star, which is the Frisco one, is ranked number 10 of the 10 best. I don't know
the
if
Star?
they were ranking it. The Star, yeah. And
What's the website? Where'd you get this information from?
Yelp.
Uh, that does not count. That
Okay.
no objectivity. It's just people's opinions, which I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's there's just so much that could go wrong on that site. So the Star should probably be up.
a lot higher, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but to that point, the Star in Frisco is a huge complex,
Hmm.
and it is the Dallas Cowboys. That's the whole point of the term Stars. The Dallas Cowboys world headquarters are located there. Plus, they have built up quite a few, and around the Star. Of course, having an attraction like the Cowboys makes it a lot easier to get the secondary businesses to come. I mean, the Cowboys are Dallas, Texas. You talked about the reason to come to Dallas, Texas is for sports. Well, primarily for, 30 years, 1960 to about 1990, well, maybe 1980s, it was Dallas Cowboys. That was basically, we had the Rangers. They came in the 70s, but they really didn't take off until the 90s. The Mavericks had some playoff experience in the 80s. The Stars didn't come to the 90s. So for a long time, it was the Dallas Cowboys, but they were monstrous business and monstrous attraction in this city.
They
Obviously,
still are. Yeah.
sports,
They're like the number
yeah.
one
You follow sports,
franchise. Yeah. Football team. Like
the
they make
highest
the most
value.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, and what they're worth the most.
Worth the most. There we
Their
go.
franchises, worth the most. I don't know who makes the most money, but they have this monstrous complex, and of course, they partner with some of the high schools, and they do high school stuff.
Hmm.
You can go see it. You can go see the practice center. They have, all sorts of, I don't want to say museum, but exhibit type things around the Dallas Cowboys at the Star. They have multiple businesses. You can, of course, host events there. Go back to the business model. A lot corporations are going to want to be, on the practice field for the Cowboys to host their events. I mean, it's a huge draw.
Hmm.
So there's quite a lot of things going on there.
So I want to go back to like the Kauffman Center, and I do have some not statistics, but just some numbers to bring up for what they plan to bring in. So Cedar Crest is the development company that approached the city. Mike Sly, the city manager, is a big fan of this partnership. He says, "We strongly believe this development will bring significant attention, activity, and jobs to the area. So it's going to be in 3 phases over 5 years, and will create an estimated 250 jobs." That's for Kauffman. That's pretty big.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
big deal for Kauffman. Kauffman, if you don't know the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Kauffman is, and I don't want to use the word rural county because I don't know if that
No,
really
it's
exists.
suburb.
But they're not very densely populated, to say
Yeah.
the least, though. But to your point, now this is fun. I think this is, because fads happen. And I don't know if this is a fad or not, but the facility will feature 8 basketball courts, 16 volleyball courts, and 16 pickleball courts.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah, that's a big thing
and
now.
see, yeah, so they're definitely trying to attract the current new business. Now, is pickleball a fad, or is it going to become a more regularly played sport? I don't know. I don't know much about.
I don't know
pickleball.
either. I really don't know. I have no
But
idea.
it's a big deal. Like NBA players are owning pickleball teams.
Yes, and
So
playing. Yeah.
you play, yeah. So, but it'll also have, what you would normally think you would find at a sports complex, things like batting cages. There's even going to be 8 bowling lanes. Why 8? I don't know. That doesn't sound like much, but
For fun.
indoor turf, yeah, for fun. Side little venture there. And Kauffman is really, this is a big deal for them. They want this to work. They're seeing other complexes in the DFW area be successful, and to Drive Nation's situation, they're near the airport. It's near the airport, DFW airport, the big airport. So it's in the heart of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and if they're struggling to bring people in because their support didn't happen,
Yeah.
that's a big deal, because $14 million, whatever investment for one person, is a lot of money, and you
Yeah.
have to rely on people wanting to come, which means you're not just going to have a basketball tournament or a volleyball tournament. You're going to have other entertainment the ability to bring in other types of entertainment and other types of, like I said, corporate events, or I don't
But
know.
well, the interesting part is that DFW, that's not like a private. I mean, it's DFW. That's a private. Because what we're seeing with the other sports complexes that are successful or that are gearing up to be successful is the fact that it's like a city partnership with like a group. You know what I mean? Like with some investors, with people who are creating these facilities, and it seems
Mhm.
like DFW of it like I didn't understand because DFW, that's not like a government entity.
That's a good point. What is DFW? That would be something we might want to look into
DFW
a little
Airport,
further.
that's what we're referring to. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's the airport.
DFW Airport
It,
international officials approached O'Neill to talk or to invest in Drive Nation. So it's like, what is actually, you know what? The power of the internet. We're gonna figure that out right now. But yeah.
yeah, but DFW is it's an airport, but it's also a business, but it's also a partnership because it's the airport for Dallas Fort
Like
Worth.
that
Uh,
Google search number 5 was like, is DFW Airport a government entity? It's a
it's
public governmental
quasi.
entity subject to the Texas Public Information Act.
Yeah, because it derives a lot of its money from fees, government fees, taxes, and things of that nature. So that's a whole different kind of
Yeah, it
animal
says
there.
it has its own post office zip code and United States Postal Service designation, as well as its own police, fire protection, and emergency medical cities. That's crazy.
Mhm. Well,
So
you've been out there. It's huge.
it is
It's
huge,
like
but I
one of
didn't.
the,
But like as a government entity, like that's something different. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah. Well, I mean, and it was there's a history behind how DFW came about because there was some development, there was some laws. Love Field was almost closed, but they kept it open. That's how Southwest Airlines developed.
oh
But
really?
that's not what we're here today for. But gives you an idea what we're doing. So I'm trying to find something. It's hard to find something comparable. There's something near. I can't tell what this is. The Fields at Carrollton Parkway. This is an outdoor primarily an outdoor facility. Parks, playgrounds, amateur sports teams. Uh, and it's more of a, and then you have these sports complexes like Garland. The city of Garland has a park that has a wave pool and a variety of both softball/baseball and soccer fields in one park, which is similar to what some of these sports complexes are. It offers the ability for to host tournaments, let little league teams practice, let little league teams play. So it's an interesting concept when you have city developed sports complexes versus private developed sports complexes,
Mm-hmm.
where the city is it kind of funds it from its tax base, which we've talked about a little bit before, versus these sports complexes need, because they're actually a for-profit enterprise, they need to have the support of the city or the county or wherever, with the secondary business and the development plans to go along with the sportsplex. I think Kaufman's doing it right to a degree. How many people want to go to Kaufman from this area? Now, East Texas, Louisiana, a lot of these places might come there to host events and sporting tournaments and things like that. There's a large, group of people out east that may want to use it that could create enough revenue for it. I don't know, but it's interesting that we have grown so much in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that there's so many of these. And, again, they're competing, or the parks now are competing, the parks and recreation departments of different cities are competing with these types of events. Their Plano Parks and Recreation has a natatorium, which is an indoor swimming venue.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they compete against, for-profit water parks. So it's real interesting, the dynamic of you have the city run or the county run parks and complexes, and now we have for-profit parks and complexes. So, where does all this lead to us? I mean, that's one reason I wanted to bring it up. And this is not, we're not going to have any answers for you today. But if you're looking at what you want from your community, these are the kind of the choices you're looking at now. And how much do you want your city investing in it versus how much you want the private sector investing in it? So it
Yeah.
becomes an interesting conversation.
I mean, I think I grew up, sports was my childhood. There was not, I mean, because
Yeah.
what else was there to do when you were a kid besides go to school? And so I think sports is a good, what's the word? It's just a good investment for any city and for any, even though, I mean, when it comes to these public-private partnerships, you always want some sort of like governing, not like actual governmental entity, but you want some sort of board of directors to oversee like the big idea of what this is for, where it will lead, because it could easily go south. Like in the Drive Nation example.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I don't think it's a bad idea, especially in Texas, to invest in sports complexes. But it is kind of an interesting, because also in the Drive Nation example, DFW approached O'Neill, and then in these other examples, it sounds like these developers are approaching the city and saying, "Hey, we see this as a good economic opportunity for you. There's a lot of potential for growth here, and this is a great place to build something because there's nothing else here, and so we can, have fun with it and go all out and all this other stuff." I'm sure that's not how they approach. Like that's not their actual pitch. It might be. I don't know.
And I think we've got a great, comparison, for lack of a better word. I think there's a better word, but the Drive Nation, where DFW and O'Neill were supposed to partner together, and he put together the sports complex, and they were supposed to put together the other development, where the Kaufman one, it's all coming as one package. They're building it all together. Like you said, it's going to be about 5 years before it's, fully built out.
Yeah, it's in
But,
phases.
but they have, they have a planned hotel. They have planned retail. They have planned restaurants. They know that they're going to put space in the acreage they're developing. So much space is going to be dedicated to restaurants. And I'm sure the developer will will do most of the legwork and going out to the various restaurant chains and things of that nature to, to create, the restaurant coming in and leasing the land or however they want to do it. Same thing for the retail, same thing for the, they're going to go to, companies who build apartments and companies who manage apartments and come up with how they want those to look like. So I'm sure, a lot of that's probably already in the plans too. And it's already, these things are already drawn up by the time they break ground. So, that's really beneficial for Kaufman that one corporation is coming in with a fully developed package.
Yeah.
Where O'Neill got caught with, okay, I'll do my part, you do your part. And it wasn't as cohesive of a plan as the Kaufman one. And he kind of got holding, or he feels like he got,
cheated
left
out of a
out on
deal.
something that could have been. Yeah.
No, I think, yeah, I think we need to be careful about like the details for because we don't know like that much about the facts of the case.
I mean, we've read 1 or 2 articles, and we don't know
but
pros and cons,
still,
and
like,
it's a lawsuit. So
just on the face of it, it's kind of like what like literally just the face of it. It's like if someone's coming in and was like, that's the thing that gets me, is that he was approached, or he was like this seems to be more kind of like a sold deal by these officials rather than him coming to them, if that makes sense.
At least that's what the 1 or 2 articles we said. Now we don't know the whole story, so like you said, we'll be a little careful.
Yeah.
But
it is something
to watch. Because
yeah.
if you come into any of these type of endeavors, because a lot of these sports complexes are not major marketing programs. They're not the Star at Frisco. They're not going to be this Kaufman, this Kaufman endeavor. They are just like this fields at Carrollton Parkway. They're just a group of fields they put together and they lease it out to various organizations and sports teams and sports leagues to use. And they kind of central. I mean, we always say soccer and baseball historically have had, we're talking about for decades, have had leagues. I mean, they have these kids growing up in these, I can't think of the right term now, but where they have to have these complex, not conferences, but they have to have these places, select teams.
Oh.
They've had a history of select teams. Competitive cheer is a big deal where they create these leagues and these competitions and these things of this nature where they need these facilities to come up so they can, host whatever they're doing. You have competitive cheer, and do they want to do it in a convention center, or do they want to do it in
Right.
a gym, in a sports complex? I mean, but these are the types of venues that these sports complexes, these teams are the type of these venues are what these teams are looking for.
It's been a long weekend.
It has.
Yes, yeah.
And so, how viable it is, obviously it's becoming more and more viable because they're building more and more of these things.
Yeah.
And so are they going to be more like the Star in Frisco and this Kauffman Center? Or do most of them still stay pretty relatively just based on, we're going to stick to the type of sport, that we're going to have a complex of soccer fields and then some center area for people to use for other types of things and to gather, maybe have some concession stands and other things? Or are they going to, or baseball, because, there's baseball have select teams and things like that, these contests and these, like the Little League, the World Series, the Little League World Series. I mean, they have all these Little League teams. They need places to practice and play.
Mhm.
And these kind of places offer that. Where before, it may have just been the city park for some of these places, but over time, this business is expanding. And I'm going to go back to a point you made earlier. I think there's more for little kids to do. There's band. There's a children's theater here in Dallas, and you were in mock trial in high school. So sports isn't the only thing for kids to do, but it is a large part of a child's life. Not every child wants to play sports, but we do tend to promote children playing sports in this country.
We don't only promote it, it's life or death here. It's you play a sport, and whatever sport it is, I don't care if it's pickleball, I don't care if it's tennis, I don't care if it's golf, there will be parents there coaching their kids from the sidelines on what to do.
Yeah, from the sidelines. Yeah, yelling. Yeah, not coaching, yelling.
Yelling.
And the coach is like, "Oh my God."
Well, I think this is a good time to wrap this podcast. Again, we're doing it on a Sunday. Sorry, we're busy. It's the weekend. But this is still a lot of fun, so we like to do it. Before we head out, I do have a question for you, Warfield.
Okay.
What was your favorite sport to play as a kid? Here in DFW. Yeah, because you're from DFW.
I grew up in Dallas.
But our residents or listeners don't know that.
Yeah, they don't. I grew up in Dallas, but the main thing when I grew up, we had what we called the YMCA leagues. That's primarily what I did. I played baseball, basketball, and football in the YMCA leagues. But we used literally the local school's junior high for our practice, whether it was the gym or the football field or the baseball field. We used the parks. I remember playing baseball. We went to a local park and we played there. So again, the competition now is much greater and the opportunity is much greater for the kids today, but they're also under, the concept of a select team. We went out there and played 8 or 10 games of football, through some volunteer parent. Everybody paid whatever their YMCA membership was. It's a lot different than from when I was a child. What some of these kids are going through to play sports. It probably was much easier for us, and we had it was more for fun. Quite frankly, we played for fun, played basketball and all the local little gyms on Saturday mornings. And so that's what we did.
Yeah. I think my favorite sport to play as a kid, I played all the sports. I did soccer for many years, and then I did basketball, volleyball, cheerleading. I did softball for a season.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then I think that was everything. But my favorite sport was basketball. It still is. My favorite sport to play, my favorite sport to watch. But there is, speaking of sports complexes, I do want to make a mention that there's this new sports soccer bar called Toka, and you actually get to play soccer while at this bar area. And it seems really cool, and I want to try it. So if anyone's tried it, let me know if you like it or if we should get a group together and go play soccer at Toka with some tequila.
Where is Toka?
I don't know. It's somewhere in DFW.
There you go, folks. We're talking about DFW and we're clueless.
We're clueless. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. And thank you so much for listening.